Tracius's consciousness had always been submerged and asleep every time the dark taint that had taken up residence in him had taken over his body. Yet, this time, he remained aware, though with absolutely no control over himself. Slowly, he realized that he could pick up various impressions and surface thoughts of the being that had hijacked his body. To his shock and surprise, he recognized it as being remarkably similar to his old friend Shakar's presence, though much darker in thought and deed. It felt, in fact, just as it had when he'd first met the angel, before the introduction of a mortal woman named Beatrice into Shakar's life. He thought that if he could pick up on the entity's presence, he ought to be able to communicate directly with it. He'd always known that, even in the vilest moments Shakar had been responsible for during his tenure as Hell's Dark Angel of Death, his logical mind could be reasoned with.
I would offer you welcome,
he sent in as powerful a thought as he could to the presence.
But for the fact that it's my body you've taken up residence in.
The tainted presence seemed to go absolutely mentally still, as though unpleasantly surprised at this intrusion.
Go back to sleep,
it growled back.
No,
he replied.
Not this time. You've taken over my body. Why?
If raw emotions could be translated directly into a facial expression, he was right then sneered at.
I wanted it. I took it. Eventually, it will be discarded when I've finished with it. Now, shut up if you wish it to be a living shell for your pathetic excuse for a spirit at that time.
The presence didn't know it, but it had given Tracius a vital clue as to what had happened. It evinced a sense recognizable as being identical to Shakar's during his evil turn. It had the same attitude. He wasn't sure of the exact circumstances, but it was likely some portion of Shakar's evil had made its way into him, manifesting as a dark alternate personality. It probably happened when Shakar sacrificed himself to resurrect not only Tracius, but the vast majority of the victims of Ludius's destructive swath across the planet. There was a good chance that the dark presence had been gaining in power, allowing it to take such full control for such a long time now, and to also do so when he wasn't angered sufficiently. Yet, he couldn't quite theorize why he was still conscious this time, beyond the speculation that it was a side effect of the total takeover without his anger trigger present. He sent out questing tendrils of thought toward the presence's mind, keeping their touch light as a feather. However, the presence took no notice, assuming him to be cowed, ignoring him as insignificant. What Tracius was able to pick out amongst the strongest of the other mind's thoughts and feelings nearly terrified him into catatonia. He retreated, figuratively speaking, into the darkest corner he could find and considered what he had discovered. He decided that he could not allow the events planned to proceed unprotested. Reaching back out to the presence, he sent,
You cannot do this. They are innocent.
The sneering sensation returned as he was answered with,
All the better. Didn't I tell you to shut up? Must I say it again? How would you like to get your body back missing its limbs?
Unfazed, Tracius replied,
They are protected. No matter what powers you have, or what you can steal from my magic, you cannot succeed. Even if you did kill the woman and her son, you will be killed in retaliation. I will die as well, but I consider that a small price easily paid for my friend's beloved.
The presence gave a mental equivalent of a snort, then growled.
I'm counting on it. With their sacrifice, yes, and the rest of the nuns, I will gain immense power. Spilling their blood on the holy ground will empower me enough to stand against any that come against me, save one. I intend to have angered enough that I will be able to take back what was once mine. And beloved, She's a talking monkey, nothing more. A whore at that. You know better than any that that's not true,
Tracius reproached.
She was the best thing that had ever happened to you. It was she that freed you from your cycle of destruction and hate. She that... She freed nothing!
Raged the other mind.
She caused my imprisonment. She made me weak. I failed my father again because of her. She cured the madness that had consumed Gabriel,
Tracius sent, quiet in comparison to the others' rantings.
For that she should be considered a saint amongst your pantheon. And their son, he stands as an example of the good that can come from the joining of the two most favored of your God's creations. You consider me and all elvenkind to be inferior because we exist outside of your domain, yet within your power, making us less than animals in your eyes. And yet, here I am, a half-breed myself, elvish and human, and you're using me as you would the horse we sit on. Is that the respect for all living things your Creator wants you to have? Or are you still your father's son? Shut up,
The presence replied sullenly. Then, raging again, it shouted,
If you don't stay silent, I will ensure your pathetic Veronica's end will be as painful as I can conceive of for her kind. And by the Dark Father, I will do everything in my regained power to entrap that scrap of a soul she has, and personally torment her for eons.
At this, Tracius did fall silent once more. Only this time, he was gathering as much will as he could, attempting to gain at least some measure of control over his puppeteered body. If he could get control over even just one small aspect, he felt he stood a chance at interfering later. The presence could not yet take any vengeance upon him any more than it already had, not if it wanted even the smallest chance of success against the forces that he was hoping were readying themselves to stop him from taking any innocent lives. He pushed, strained, and suddenly his body's lips moved, letting a small whisper of hope escape. Run. Run, Beatrice and Daniel. Death rides through the night.